Hey there, folks, and welcome back with a Golgari Power 3 deck, and gameplay's in the description, linked there. If you want to see how the deck fares, Deck Tech is coming right up. See you in a sec. Hey there, folks, my name is Thelona, and this is the Power 3 deck. So you're wondering what the Power 3 deck is? Some of you already know I've done this deck before, but the basic premise is you see that there's Power 3 or greater creatures all across the board, and then we're running Elemental Bond. So whenever a creature with Power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So that's what we're doing here. And we also have Lifecrafter's Bestiary from Aether Revolt as our second engine. So for 3 mana, beginning your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay a green. If you do, draw a card. So the scry is probably the more important of the two, but you can really get an engine going anyway. So I'm going to more explain the newer cards versus the older cards since I've done this deck before. So I'll just gloss over a few of them. So we have Greenbelt Rampager, 3/4, definitely pretty good. And you can get multiple activations since it bounces back to your hand. We've got Fatal Push for removal, all 3, just to get that early game through. We've got Lampole Pacifist, which is actually better in this deck now. Much, much better. We don't have to rely on the flipping or the rare chance add, a 4-power creature, since we have now Exemplar of Strength in here for 2 mana, 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature control. When it attacks, you can remove a counter from it and gain 1 life. So that's an instant 4/4 if we need it. Ideal targets for the -1 counters, things like Scrap Heap Scrounger, or even itself if there's a pretty clear board and you just want to attack to get the counters off, it's perfectly fine. But as it is a 4/4 before the 3 counters go on, it does activate from Elemental Bond, so pretty easy target that way. And we have Smuggler's Copter for more card draw. I said the Scrap Heap Scrounger for recurring threat constantly, and again 3 power. Grasp of Darkness, 3 copies to get rid of little things that are in our way, or maybe even big things, bring them down to size so that we can do a little combat trick. And then our next new card, Bontu the Glorified, for 3 mana, is a 4/6 Menace Indestructible, and it can't attack or block unless a creature died under our control this turn. And it has the ability to pay 1 in a black and sacrifice another creature to scry 1, and each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is a nice way for closing out the game at the very end, just draining for 1, and being able to attack with a Menacer as well in the process. So when you just can't get through their wall, they stabilize, whatever, but they stabilize pretty low on the life total. You can try and keep that pressure going. A Menacer definitely deals with their blockers quite effectively. And you can do sacrifices on, again, Scrap Heap Scrounger. Scrap Heap Scrounger is an all-star in this deck now. Definitely an all-star. And then we have Plague Belcher next up for 3 mana in black. It's a 5/4 Menace, and when it enters the battlefield, put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature, and whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. That is relevant for Fleshbag Marauder since it is a zombie, so you can get a little ping out of it. So Fleshbag Marauder got slightly better once again out of this with that tiny synergy, and you can get an extra ping out of the process. And also, we now have Fleshbag Marauder, and this guy can dump on the scrap heap once again, or something else. Say we really don't have any other outlet to get Lampole Pacifist attacking, then we can drop a Plague Belcher, and it'll definitely be big enough to make the guy attack. Although it'll be diminishing returns. If we drop the counters and make it a 1/1, it's still going to be something. Or maybe it still gives the ability to crew with Copter or something like that. So there are options. We can relegate a creature to a crew status if we need to. Okay, so that's that. Fleshbag meant for big targets generally, or turning on our Bontu if we want. It really doesn't matter. Anyways, next we have Ronus the Indomitable for 3 mana, a 5/5 Death Touch Indestructible, can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. You've seen some of the tricks we can pull already to get a 4-power creature or stronger already. And you can also pay 3 mana and give another target creature +2/+0 and trample until end of turn. Good for getting rid of those chump blockers. You get, say, you know, any of these guys. Like if you were to get the dream team of these two guys out at the same time and manage to get some sort of activation bond to and get him attacking, menace and trample and get over, and it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that it doesn't matter. But the menacers are good on their own as menace, and then Scrap Heap is actually a pretty good target for that guy for trample, because Ronus is hard to block and it's not going to die, but the Scrap Heap is, so they have to make informed decisions, and it's like, well, Scrap Heap's coming back anyway, so it's not helping. So the threats are hard to remove, and they are getting a little beefier in this deck since the previous versions. They're still expendable, but they're a little beefier, so you don't necessarily have to. 2 copies of Rex Sage, because we still have to deal with artifacts and enchantments. They exist, and that's a thing, and they are it. I actually experimented without them in the deck. It wasn't bad. I think I had Hapatra as an experiment, and she's okay, but she had about the same influence as Rex Sage, so I think I'd go with the stuff that we're missing versus just adding on to the stuff that we already have, and just cover that little hole there. So Rex Sage killed the artifacts enchantments, definitely helpful. Not a 3 power, but we're not going to hold that against them. We have the Lifecrafter Bestiary and Elemental Bond as our engines to draw all the cards. And then we have Bone Picker with any creatures dying with between our removal and our sacrifice and -1 counters and all that. Bone Picker is going to do some work, and it's going to be a very easy afterthought to any other plays during a specific turn. So for 4 mana, it's a 3/2 and costs 3 less to cast if a creature died this turn. We can pretty much activate that without much effort, with a couple random circumstances, but overall, yeah, we can definitely activate Bone Picker just fine, and it's a flying death touch as well, so it's definitely a air threat that's viable, and I'd say in this deck just as good as Copter in that regards, because it makes it very difficult to deal with. As you notice, we've got our fair share of menace, flying, death touch, and indestructible going, and our actual claim to fame in this deck for attacking is generally menace, so definitely helpful, but the death touch is also extremely helpful. Then we have the big baddie Sky Sovereign in here, of course, because we need to have more aerial threats, and you know, with the crew 3, that means that our deck is pretty much online for this thing. And being able to crew that with something smaller and swing with Ronus like that is pretty handy. So the colorless stuff is out of the deck, and we're going to go with the... I was trying to figure out a way to get more removal in here, but I think the Death Touch and Menace is definitely doing the work in that regards and just kind of bolstering that whole thing. So we have 9 swamps and 8 forests, 2 hissing quagmires to turn into Death Touch manlands, and woodland cemetery, and 3 aether hubs to apply with our energy. We got to play them carefully with the Greenbelt Rampager. If we're shy on mana, it can be a thing, because we might eat up our aether hub mana with it. That's it. As much as they are kind of good, like it helps get Greenbelt out easier, or Greenbelt can help get energy if we need it, but that's a very specific play, and the circumstance has to have a little bit of freedom and not just have to play the elephant sort of thing, because if you have to play the elephant and drain all your energy and your mana's still not quite set up, then yeah, it's a little tough. But the deck definitely still accelerates like it did, and the threats are a little more robust, so they tend to have some more staying power. So, you know, when you got 3 3s, 4 4s, Scrap Heap recurring, aerial threats, and indestructible threats, and just massive menacing threats, yeah, it's much stronger than it used to be. I mean, the card draw allows for -1 counter kind of stuff to be less of an issue. We can just keep throwing out bigger creatures. I mean, for 3 mana, we get a bigger creature, for example. It's just bigger, tougher creatures, and they all play very nice with the gods in all respects there. They tend to hold out pretty good and make things really rough. All right, so that's the deck, and again, gameplay is linked down in the description. You wanted to go check that out and see what the deck kind of plays like, and hope you enjoy it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.